In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use ScrapPage to include a vast amount of your research onto a single page that could be shared with others. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project, and for this one I'm going to use something called TV mirroring, because that works really well to mirror whatever you have on your iPhone up to a television for viewing by an audience. Now, that doesn't mean that this is going to be developed just for an iPhone. In fact, the result can be displayed on any computer or tablet. But for this purposes, what I'm going to do now, is start this up, and I'll give this background a little bit of a color, and go ahead and say there. Now that's what we're going to have. So that's our starting point. Now what are we going to do? Well, the first thing we got to do is get our tree in here. So under I have some tree primitives here, and let's start with this one here, which is a 4-generation tree. Okay, so we'll just pull this down here about like this and say, all right, now that's going to be our starting point. Just to make it a little more contrasty, let's give that a color as well. We'll make it brownish. All right, so now the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add to this one of my media holders. And a media holder is a thing that allows the active content on any page to be present. So for this case, I'm going to pick the photo holder, and we'll move it over here like so, and blow it up in size and set it about like that. So that's where the content of what we're going to do on this page is going to be held. And this is the tree, so we have to let's lock that in place so we don't move it. And I think I'll lock this as well. Now what we want to do is populate some of these nodes. Well, let's just start off with one of them, and for this particular demonstration I'm going to do a fellow named Carl Conley, and I could give his dates of birth and such underneath there if I wanted to, but we'll just go with this right now and say, okay, there's Carl, and he's going to reside in that particular tree node. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to build a file up that's going to have some information about Carl. And to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a color panel. And I'm going to set it over here and make it about the size, roughly the size of it doesn't have to be exact, but roughly the size of what's going to go into that, it's going to be eventually shown into that photo holder. And I think what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to make it white. And I think now I'm going to add a photo of Carl. So if I go here and into this folder here, I happen to have some pictures of him, and we'll just add this photo and set it over here somewhere like that. Now I'm also going to add a text box, and this text box is going to sit up here, and we'll make that be his name. And let's give it a fancy font, something like Edwardian, and auto size it up a little bit so it sits about like that, maybe even a little bit larger. We'll just auto size him so he sits about like that. Okay, so now we have Carl in his name, but I think I'd like to add a little more detail here. So I happen to have some bio information on him, and the next thing I'll do then is add a text box for that, and we'll sit it over here about in this area here, and paste that in there. I think I'll put a few spaces here so we break things out a bit so that it looks a little more readable to the audience. And we'll auto size that, maybe get this way and give it a different font. I think probably here a font might be better if it were Arial. So we got this down here now. This might be a little bit too big, so let's just reduce it down in size until it fits better. Okay, so there we got that now. Now, in addition to that, I have some additional bio information on, or lifestyle information on him. So we'll add another text box, and this text box could fit down in this area, and it'll say these words here, which I'll just paste in rather than try to type in, and we'll tell it to auto size that. And let's left justify it and increase it in size until it looks like it pretty well fits where we got. All right, so if we we take this and we look at it and we say, okay, that's pretty good. That's close to fitting in there, as good as it's going to get. All right, so now we've got this. Now what do we do with it? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it all, and I do that by holding down the Control key and just selecting all of the elements, and I'm going to select that white background as well, and copy the selection. All right, so when it's done, it's now got it copied, and I'm going to use one of the neat features of ScrapPage that allows you to incorporate a lot of information on a single page, and that is to make a pano image. So to make this pano image, remember I copied Carl's stuff to the clipboard, so now I just paste it in there. Now there's what we copied and pasted. Now in addition to that, I can add other images. So let's add all the other images that we have of Carl here. And I think I'll just select all of those except for his picture. We've already used that picture there. So I'll add these, and we'll say, what do we got? Well, we have, let's take this one because it's when he was young, and we'll give it we'll just say it's Carl and sisters, and they are Helen and I think Clara was her other name. And we'll just tell it to update that text there. So now that puts that on that page. And this is when he married Eva Lewis. So we'll say it's the marriage to Eva Lewis. And we'll update that text as well. I think I better fix that. So we'll update that. So marriage to Eva Lewis. This is when he worked at Albers, and that's kind of self-sufficient or self-explanatory, and that's his funeral. And I put Carl up here in front of his picture, or his wedding with Eva. So now we've got these things aligned the way we want them. I can create a vertical film strip. So tells ScrapPage to do that, and now you can see we have a film strip of the information we just put in. Okay, so what I do then is I copy this to the clipboard, and we'll just close this off. And now I go here to this, his name, and I want to link that information to his name. So I'll tell it that it's a pop-up photo. And I'm going to paste it from the clipboard, and you'll see there's the film strip that we just made. Now I'm going to tell ScrapPage that this is a film strip. It doesn't know that unless you tell it that. So anyway, I'll tell it that it is a film strip, and tell it OK. Now, what I want to do next is I'm just going to hide that. I don't see, what did I hide? I hid something I didn't want to hide. I want to bring back, I want to hide that, and that. And I want to bring back this one, which is his name. Okay, so now I've got everything hidden except the tree elements and the photo holder. Now I'll go ahead and make a media picture out of this, or a media page out of this, one of the action pages of ScrapPage. And I do this by saying, hey, let's build it for local viewing. We'll just say, hey, we want to take a peek at this, and we'll put this up here under genealogy, and we'll make this be, I'll just call it test page for now. You can call it anything, but let's just call it that. So the file was built, and now I go and I say I want to view it. Okay, so when it comes up, you can see here's where the information is going to be held, and when I click on Carl Conley's name, sure enough, there is his information in that scrolling film strip that we made using the Pano Maker. And here's all of his information we put in on that one page when we copied it and pasted it. And here's the other data that we had in it, which data in his case is just photos and some information about his birth and death and that sort of thing. So I think what I'd like to do next is show you one that I populated a little more in depth than this. I made this in earlier, and I can bring it up. Now you can see here's one that's populated a little bit more. I made it be the family tree of Sharon Lay. Now remember the Carl Conley one we had up here, that's still there. So you can see that his information is still around. But I also added some others. Now, this was just Sharon herself, so this is her information. This would be her mother, and her mother's information, Betty. and the children that she had. And here's some pictures of Betty when she was younger, and some baptismal records and her obit, and her father, Walter, or Wally, as he's always was known as. And you can see here's his high school picture, some of his photos from when he was working, when he married Betty. He was an active amateur radio participant, and that's his ham license. And here's a picture of him with his father and his father-in-law, and older in life. And this was Wally's obit and his memorial service. Here was the Carl Conley one again. Here was Eva, who was Betty's mother, Sharon's grandmother. And there's some pictures of her and her wedding, and her certificate from school and where she worked, and her death notice. You can also add more for just a single person. Remember, we had this one here for Wally, which was his bio, but you can also add to that, for instance, that he was a very avid athlete when he was a younger man, and here was some of his achievements during his athletic career when he was younger, as well as you could say, okay, and he also had 5 brothers, or he was one of 5 brothers, rather. So here's pictures of his brothers as when they were young and when they grew up, and they maintained a bond throughout life. So, but again, we can look at Sharon. We say, okay, fine, here was her son, Kyle. And here's some things about Kyle. As he grew up, he was very active, still is very active, and a hockey player. That's when he proposed to his wife, and that was at his wedding. Here's his daughter, Sarah. And one thing I didn't show you, and I'll just show you here, is that these scrolls can go up and down, or they can go side to side, either way. ScrapPage can make them both ways. So you can see that this is going side to side like so, to carry information about Sarah when she was going through school, and now that she's in medical school. So that's the way it pretty much all works. You can dress it up a little bit like this, as I've done here. I added some information to tell people to click on the names and the other markers, and you'll find all kind of data. Now, all of this could be wrapped up into a single file, a zip file. It's actually just 2 folders right now. One folder that holds all of these pictures, and the other one is the HTML file that actually is the internet page that tells the thing how to display. You could zip that together, and you could mail it, or you could post this onto a website if you wanted to. A convenient way, if you're just trying to share it with your family and friends, is just to zip it and email it to them. They can open it up by unzipping it and clicking on the HTML file, and this is what would come up. So also, you can use this then when you have it. You can open it on a phone and display it on a television, and share it with people that way by using the AirPlay features of an iPhone or similar stuff on an Android. So for now, I'm going to cut off on this, and I just wanted to show you how you could use ScrapPage to contain a lot of information about about the research that you do on a single page like this. Now, this could be linked, by the way. You could link additional information to this if you wanted to. You could link to other pages with a menu, or just by hard links that you could put on, hyperlinks that you could put on to any page, and let your audience navigate around at their leisure. So hope this is some information that's valuable to you. And until the next time, this is Dave with Media Digitronics. Bye-bye.